Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for episode 271 of Album of the Day, in which for today's album review, I'm going to be talking about the new album from, I believe he's like a California bassist, singer, and songwriter, who definitely has been a pretty big part of kind of this huge, kind of jazz fusion revival that's been happening for the last decade. He's also a frequent collaborator with the one and only Flying Lotus. Of course, I am talking about the famed Thundercat. And you also may know him for his work on Kendrick Lamar's decade-defining magnum opus, To Pimp a Butterfly, which is hailed by a lot of people as like the best album of the 2010s. Thundercat's also known for releasing a good amount of solo material as well, including what I'm going to review today, his latest album, which was released on April 3rd, 2020. And the album is called It Is What It Is. I recently got this on vinyl. I was able to go to Ka-Chunk since this is one of the states that actually, Maryland is one of the states that's been reopening quite a bit. Stores reopening, as well as, restaurants having like outdoor seating and stuff like that. So yeah, I was lucky enough to, go to Ka-Chunk and get this album. And definitely an album that has been growing on me the more I've listened to it. Here's the album cover, which is basically just Thundercat's face, nothing too special there. And then there's the back. There's 15 tracks on the record, and it's 37 minutes long, released on Brainfeeder Records. And yeah, this little thing basically shows all the musicians that contributed to this album. And I believe this is Thundercat's fourth studio album. I'm not so sure. And this is a cream-colored vinyl. Here's side A, and then there's side B. And it sounds really good on vinyl, too. That's the vinyl packaging for It Is What It Is, the new album from Thundercat. So, I actually did review Thundercat a couple of years ago. I reviewed his breakout 2017 album, Drunk, which, at the time, I definitely really liked the record. However, ever since then, I've definitely kind of changed my mind a little bit, because though I think the record definitely has some highlights on it, and some great bass playing, and certainly some very hilarious tracks, like that moment midway through the record, these songs, Tokyo, with a Tokyo, Jamil Space Ride, and Friend Zone definitely is hilarious, but really the main issue I have with that record is just, very few of Thundercat's ideas really come off as anything that cohesive. It just felt like he was trying to just squeeze in as much sort of ideas or even demos as possible, and also there were some features that just did not complement the record, even though there definitely were a few features that did actually add a lot to it. So I was just hoping on Thundercat's next record that he would actually come through with a cohesive record and not just a magnum opus full of little gems just kind of jumbled up. And the teaser tracks for this thing definitely, for the most part, were pretty good, I would say. So I definitely had pretty high hopes that maybe Thundercat will make it more fully realized and a much more tight record. And I'm very happy to say Thundercat pretty much gave me that here on this record. It def so though some of the shortcomings in his music that have always been there are still kind of here on this record. The mixes are a little muddy sometimes, but really the songs in which the mixing has resulted in are actually some very quality songs with certainly some more mature songwriting, definitely some great grooves and killer production, and plenty of features that actually do really add a lot to the record, and it doesn't just feel like he's, slapping them on there just to see what happens. Happens. I will say the album opens very beautifully with the track Lost in Space / Great Scott / 2226, which is definitely a bit of an intro for the record. It's just so beautiful, like Thundercat's very soulful falsetto, along with the very languid mix of jazz bass and keyboards, with some lyrics where he's sort of demonstrating a sense of wonder, like is with his lyrics of is anybody out there and stuff like that. He's sort of, in a moment of kind of feeling some true sadness here on this record. And that's kind of one thing that I think really does show him maturing on this record, is just how emotional he's become in his music. And that mostly has to do with the death of rapper, singer, and close friend of Thundercat, Mac Miller. Of course, I reviewed Mac Miller's posthumous record a few weeks ago, and given how much I loved that record, and given how much I can relate to that heartbreak, seeing it on this record definitely very much resonated with me. The next track, Interstellar Glove, is this gorgeous sort of mix of jazz along with some pretty kind of liquid electronic elements. And then also some very soulful singing from T-Cat on this track. And definitely the way that the opening track flows into it is definitely very nice. Really cool bass break in the middle, and also very killer sax solo at the end from none other than Kamasi Washington, another pretty frequent collaborator with Thundercat. The song I Love Lewis Cole, as the title suggests, is kind of a song about a very poignant song about friendship that features none other than Lewis Cole, who plays drums on the song, really kind of fire drumming on the track, as well as a really nice kind of honeyed vocal tones midway through the track as well, which does feature some kind of hilarious lines, like the line of "sleeping in the laundry in your room." It's kind of a song where, like, even through all the hard times and kind of the somewhat and through the kind of somewhat questionable life choices, you still kind of have to hold on to your friends that way. And also great mix of keyboards and strings that sound like something out of a Zelda video game, as well as some Beach Boys-esque vocal harmonies. It definitely has this sort of skittering, almost very trippy funk feel to it. It's definitely one of the highlights for me. The next track, Black Qualls, was the first teaser track for this record. Features a wide variety of guests. Steve Lacy, funk legends Steve Arrington, and, of course, the boy, Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino. However, the more I listen to this track, the more tired I become of it. For one, there didn't need to be so many guests on here, because they seem like they're kind of barely there, because the way that they're mixed is very lackluster and kind of gutless. even though I do kind of like the groove on the track, and Steve Arrington, I will say, does deliver some charisma with his performance, but really the only feature on this track that really does a lot for me is like Gambino's appearance at the end. Like Gambino just sounds so into it, and if only the Lacey and Arrington sounded like they were into it as well on this track. Uh, the next cut, Miguel's Happy Dance, is kind of a song about where the message is, sort of, even if you're feeling down, even if things aren't going your way, just doing the happy dance, which I know is a pretty simple, is a kind of deceptively simple sort of sentiment, but, given what we're all dealing with right now, I think we can all kind of relate to, what Thundercat is reflecting on the song. And I also love the just very interesting chord progressions that happen midway through the track as well. It's really showing one of the more unique cuts on the record. And it flows very well into the very frenetic instrumental House Way, which features absolutely one of my favorite bass lines on the record, as well as some sort of anxious keyboards that enter midway through that definitely sound like something off of like Animal Crossing or something like that. The singer, something like that, kind of skittering hip hop beat underneath all that. All that, it's definitely, though it is one of the shorter tracks on the record, it really manages to do so much in so little time, which is why it really stands out as one of the best cuts here. Funny thing is this kind of features this kind of squelching groove, as like Pace Magazine called it. A really nice sort of very psychedelic feel to the instrumental on here, as well as lyrics where the narrator seems to be like, kind of like he's drunk and kind of wants to party with someone. He's kind of reflecting on being attracted to someone, not in a very sexual way, but seems like just wanting to be their friend or something like that. I mean, the title kind of makes sense because it's just a funny thing we get when we just want to be somebody's friend, just out of nowhere. Where Overseas is a track where the narrator seems to want to take this person he's talking to some sort of exotic place. Really giving us a sneak peek into something maybe a little bit flirtier midway through the record. I think the instrumental is pretty good. However, I will say this is yet another kind of underwhelming cut for me. I don't know. This doesn't really do much for me. However, the song does end in a kind of hilarious way with Zach Fox sort of portraying like a captain like in the cockpit of an airplane, and he's like seeing this guy and with chains on and a Durag, and he's like, "Is that Thundercat? What's up, brother?" And it like makes a pretty funny transition into my favorite track on the record. And it seems to be like everyone's favorite track off this record, Dragonball Durag. Durag. I will also highlight that I do wish Overseas were a little bit longer. If that track were a little bit longer, it would be a much more memorable cut on the record. Anyway, back to Dragonball Durag. I vibe hard to this song, let me tell you. Like, this is really the first teaser track from this thing that, like, right out of the gate, I absolutely loved. Love the groove. I think the production is very psychedelic and beautiful. The very soulful singing. Baby girl, how do I look in my durag? Yeah, and its lyrics are definitely kind of hilarious and very definitely sort of sweet in how he's sort of, wants to impress this person by tell by asking them if how they think of him and his Durag, which in his Durag, and sort of like, you don't have to like my video games or my comic books. Like, it's definitely a very interestingly flirty kind of moment on the record, and I just, I love it. It's definitely a vibe without being necessarily background music. It's just so damn catchy. The song "How I Feel" is kind of another interlude on the record, and yet another example of Thundercat really having the ability to do so much in so little time. I mean, in this 1:08 song, he manages to he really manages to put in a really nice smooth bass line, some cute little glockenspiel stylings in there, as well as some really gorgeous pianos and sort of woozy keyboards that come in midway through. The song "King of the Hill" features this very gorgeous instrumental provided by none other than Toronto Jazz Quartet, Bad Bad Not Good, which, even though I'm not really a big jazz person, they are one of my favorites when it comes to the genre, really. Really. But even though I think the instrumental is definitely the best part of the track, this is kind of another one of those duds on the record for me. For one, the mixing isn't really the best on here. I do wish I could hear the drums on like both ears instead of one ear, though I get he's trying to go for the mono effect on this track. And also the lyrics about, like, somebody who's wasting his time chasing cheap thrills and drinking lots of Pepsi and stuff like that. It's like very hard for me to get my head around. It's definitely seems like one of the lazier cuts on the record. However, beyond this point, the album does end on a pretty melancholy note with the last 4 cuts on the record. The song "Unrequited Love" is definitely one of my favorites here, and definitely one of the sadder tracks in how it describes, Thundercat sort of trying to come to terms with, this loss that, he's had to deal with since the fall of 2018, and sort of realizing that, time doesn't always do that much good. The movie is that good, and also sort of, affirming to himself finally that he really is the one, that this person whom he's lost is just the one who got away, and also features very beautiful instrumental on here. So really cool bass playing on the track, very moody strings that I think set the tone very well. It's definitely one of the more chilling moments on the record, which I think is really cool. The next cut is "Fair Chance," which features Dolla and Lil B, and definitely this is the one moment on the record that especially gets me pretty emotional. I mean, when Ty comes in with that very gorgeously moving singing, I just, I am moved to tears, that's for sure. And also, the instrumental is very good. Love the kind of progressive bass playing on this track that accompanies Thundercat's very soulful performance very well. Very well, and and just to think of how much of an impact the death of Mac Miller really had on several people in the music world is definitely what makes this track just so gut wrenching, and also Little B's sort of half rapping, half singing I think is very beautiful on here as well. as he's sort of reflecting on his struggles with depression. The next track is the shortest song on the record, Existential Dread, at over 51 seconds. But, man, does it really leave... And could the song be stretched a little longer? Sure, but I will say that its short runtime only allows it to leave an even bigger impact on me, at least. As he's sort of singing about how he kind of, even though he experiences this existential dread, he knows he'll be alright as long as he keeps breathing. And then the album closes with the longest cut on the record, which is the title track, It Is What It Is, which features none other than Brazilian guitarist Pedro Martins, whom I've actually never heard of until he worked with Thundercat here. But that's kind of the thing with Thundercat. He's definitely introduced me to plenty of people I wouldn't have otherwise thought of, really. And he's sort of, and this is definitely a very meditative moment on the record in how it sort of describes him sort of realizing that, even though, life is going to have extreme highs and extreme lows, it pretty much is what it is. And, and given, the crisis we're dealing with right now, I think we can kind of, relate to it for sure. For sure. It's a very smooth as butter guitar playing from Pedro Martins on the track, before the song eventually transitions into this, jazzy and somewhat epic outro, where I love the way that it builds, as the keyboards enter, and then some strings, and then some really pretty hot drumming at the end. And there's even a moment in the song where I hear him, saying hi to Mac, and I swear, I even maybe heard Mac's voice on here. It's a very emotional moment, really, for me. And yeah, I just, this is a great record. I definitely think it's one of Thundercat's best. I definitely could see why this record seems to be his most critically lauded record to date, because he very much solidifies himself as a pretty big part of of what makes our current crop of jazz fusion so interesting, with some great grooves, very psychedelic, gorgeous production, great songwriting. The album flows, I think, much better than its predecessor, which I'm very happy about. The features, for the most part, really add a lot to this thing. It's just a very solid Thundercat record. There are a couple of duds in the track list, yes, but definitely for the most part, going with a light 8 out of 10 for this new Thundercat record. It is what it is, and I'll see you for episode 272.